It makes me very glad I don't live in ancient Greece where the gods are just like ruining your life. Like they're like, oh, you're comfortable. Happy people don't worship. They're not going and sacrificing. Like they want you to be uncomfortable because then you're going to be reaching out to them more. And they're just so interesting. Welcome to More Magic, a fantasy book podcast. I'm your host, Demi Utley.
And I'm your co-host, Marianne Willis.
We have our tea, our cozy blankets, and a lot of opinions. But be warned, today's episode has spoilers, so listen at your own risk. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of the More Magic Book Club podcast. Today, we have a return guest co-host, AJ Peterson. Thank you for joining.
Woo. Happy to be here.
For anyone who, this is their first time encountering you. So AJ is also an author, and she wrote Oblivion's Hymn, which is a book that also contains gods. So if you enjoyed Circe, you might want to go check that one out. And the next one's coming out in September. October
13th.
Ooh, very spooky. Okay, yeah. I love that.
It's a Tuesday, but you know.
I think, yeah. So perfect segue. If you are into Circe and you're like, I want some more gods, but not Greek mythology, like different mythology, then yeah, your book is perfect. So I'm so glad you joined me for this because you obviously like gods since you wrote multiple books about these, very complex beings. So for today, as you saw with the title, we are discussing Circe by Madeline Miller. And for anyone who's listening to this but hasn't read the book for a while, I'll give a quick summary. For anyone who's listening to this and hasn't read the book, just so you know, there are going to be a ton of spoilers in this. So be prepared. It is Greek mythology, so you probably know a lot of it, but also this is it might be my favorite book. It's definitely like top 5, possibly my favorite book. It's so good. So I would highly recommend it.
Same.
Yeah. Okay, so Circe, as I think pretty much everyone knows, is the witch from the Odyssey who Odysseus meets on his quest, where he's trying to return home. And I haven't read the Odyssey for a while, but I think in that they are lovers. I don't remember if she holds him captive, but in this book, they do become lovers, which is essentially the second half of the book. I think she meets Odysseus almost exactly at the midpoint in the novel because I was trying to track that. Yeah. So the first half is we meet her when she's born. Circe is the daughter of Helios and a nymph, Perseus, I think was her name in this book. Something like that.
Oh.
And she lives in Helios, who's the sun, his halls, and she's just there with all of her thousands of cousins and aunts and uncles and living god life. And it's very toxic, and they bully her, so she feels like an outsider for a good chunk of the book. But she falls in love with a human, and she's kind of obsessed with humans, which I think is also something we'll talk about because that's obviously a huge part of her arc. But she meets Prometheus when he's being punished, and he's the god who gives, I think that he made humans out of clay, and then he gives humans fire, and he's like obsessed with humans.
He's a Titan.
Yeah.
I think, and there's the big war between the gods and the Titans. And some of the Titans like chose the god's side because they knew that they were going to lose. So they kind of like
her dad
as kids too. Yeah.
Yeah,
a lot of complicated family dynamics going on.
Yeah, so we see her interact with all of these. Yeah, because she's on the Titan side. So all of like her grandfather Oceanus is a Titan, and then her dad's a Titan. But they were, like you said, they were on the Olympian side. And she falls in love with a human, and then she thinks that she can use these flowers that are from
the blood of Kronos, I think.
Yeah, the blood of someone. They become flowers from that big war. And she uses that to transform this human into a god. she didn't know that. It was supposed to turn him into his true self, and he became this like ocean god. And then he went to be with someone. I won't, now I'm like going really into the weeds of the summary, so I'll speed this up a little bit. But she transforms him, and then she transforms this other girl who's always bullied her, who's a nymph, and he loves her and wants to be with her. And she confesses it to her father and like shames him essentially. So she gets exiled to this island where we know her from the Odysseus tale. And then also I was listening to something because Jason and Medea also go to her island, and that's also in like their myth too, where Circe's there. So she gets to meet all of these like Greek heroes and live on her island with her animals, and like a bunch of nymphs come and live with her. She eventually has a son with Odysseus, and it's so fun and heartbreaking. And yeah, I'll just end the summary there because otherwise I'm just going to like literally do a play-by-play of the entire book. But do you want to talk a little bit about the world and magic system in this one?
Yeah. So I have always been like, I was a Greek mythology kid. Percy Jackson was my jam.
Yeah.
So all of these Greek retellings, I'm like, give them to me. I really need to read Hecate and I'm Medusa. Those have been on my list for forever. But yeah.
Hecate is our, I think, September book club read. If anyone is interested. Yeah.
But yeah, so you start basically by getting like a crash course in the family dynamics of all of these Greek deities. And I think it's really interesting to see that from Circe's perspective, because she's sort of like, she is divine and she is immortal, but she, like, her voice is more like a mortal's than a god's. She's a nymph, so she's basically like the lowest on the totem pole that you can be in the world of divine beings. And so she gets to see, like, I love the way that Madeline Miller describes like the pride of all of these beings and the chain of fear that connects all of them. Like everybody is always terrified that the people above them are going to smite them down for some little like slight or something.
Well, and they do a lot.
And they do. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. A valid fear. And so it's cool to see her sort of walk through this world like of it, but not quite belonging to it. And Prometheus is really the like catalyst of her realizing that there's like something else for her out there. I love the line, this is getting a little into favorite stuff, but that when he's describing mortals to her and like what it is to live a finite life. And she has no like, she can understand in the abstract that concept, but not like the actuality of it. And she asks him, how do they bear it? And he says, the best they can. And that like sort of carries through all the rest of the book, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, it's so good. And I feel like Madeline Miller is just, I mean, she is like so good, but I really felt like this is a goddess. Like I could feel being immortal reading this book, and I'm obviously not immortal. But we were just so immersed in her perspective and like that world. Yeah, it was a fun way to just think about mortality, to view it from the lens of this goddess or nymph, and how she's like, well, what does that even mean? You know? And yeah.
And then as far as the magic, obviously you've got, Zeus and his thunderbolts, and everybody, like Helios is the god of the sun, and he rides his carriage across the sky every day. But Circe and her family are like the first witches. And like the book starts with like, when I was born, the name for what I was did not exist, which is just such a cool line.
Oh yeah, I love that. Yeah. It was so good.
But I think there's like speculation about why that happened, but I don't know if we ever actually got the answer to like where her powers came from. It's very like intention based. And Penelope does witchcraft at the end of the book, and she's not a goddess.
Because she said at one point she had said she thought it was from her mother, Perseus or Perse, whatever her name was. But then, by the end of the book, Circe says it's will, kind of decides that anyone can be a witch, basically. So it did feel kind of ambiguous, but also her brother could do it. So I don't know if it's just
her brother and her sister and her brother's Medea was her brother's daughter.
Yeah, her niece. Yeah.
And they all use it so differently, like kind of fits their personality, which is really cool. And the way that they the interactions with her and her sister, where she's like the Minotaur and all that stuff. Oh, those are so painful.
I know. Her sister is so evil, which we could talk about her in a little bit. But yeah, I feel like I loved this book because we have all of these Greek myths and, everyone's heard of like the Minotaur and Hercules and all of the, there's a Disney movie about it. But then in this book, we get to see them from a different perspective. And to us, it's this grand myth, like going off and fighting these creatures and all these battles and stuff. But then for her, it's just like life, and she knows the gods. And so like having this kind of, the thing that I really like about this book, it just is so normal. Like it's never questioned. Even a lot of the humans in the book, when they come to her island, they say, like, hi, goddess. They have some greeting for her. And I love that like world building aspect where it's just like, well, yeah, of course, like my father's in the sky right now. Like those little lines of like, and then, oh, my aunt is like hidden by clouds, so she can't see me doing this. And it just made it, our world being on an island feel like, oh my gosh, yeah, there's a god like in the sky above me right now, and it's so immersive and so fun.
Yeah. It's also really interesting because we go through all of these tales of like the people who are heroes, like making like big changes and doing all these crazy things and like fighting monsters and winning wars out in the world. And Circe and her little island are like the center of this story, and all these heroes are just kind of passing through.
Yeah.
Which is very fitting for like the themes of this book, right? With like all of these fleeting mortal lives, and she's just like here unchanged. But also, like you were saying, it's kind of a cool different perspective to just see these little glimpses of like she is a goddess, but she's also like a normal person, kind of like interacting with these mythic figures in really interesting ways.
Yeah, and I love it because she loves the like gossip too. Like anytime someone comes, she's like, "Well, tell me about like Pasiphae," or like, what happened with Jason and Medea. She wants the gossip, which I think is we could talk about more in the themes because I feel like there is something there with the family and like the toxic environment that she grew up in. Like that was definitely a big part of this book, which I feel like is Greek mythology, is
for sure
just insane, like barbaric. They're gods, but like the things that they're doing, they're not very civilized. And
well, I think that's like another like big theme of this is how destructive the gods really are, because they don't have the perspective that mortality gives you, and having to like work to create and put good into the world. They can just like snap their fingers and a miracle happens. So instead they like bring death and destruction everywhere they go. It's kind of messed up. So I'm glad that this like take on that mythos is happening, because I feel like it's really easy for us to look at it as like a beautiful, wonderful, like, oh yeah, the gods were walking around like in the world here. And actually it would probably be pretty scary as a tiny little ant among all these giants.
Yeah, like they just don't care at all. And another thing, I know you had written down that it's very patriarchal, and I feel like that also contributed to the toxicity, because even the goddesses in this world they're embodying kind of that toxic like male ego thing, like, oh, you offended me, so I'm going to destroy your entire family, or I'm going to like turn you into like a, an owl, or I don't know, whatever they do. But yeah, it also was a lot of gods taking lovers and like, well, who is she going to marry? And Pasiphae had to go be like married off to Minos, and she didn't like that. And
like a nymph's entire existence revolves around being able to like seduce a god and have their children.
Yeah.
And even, I mean, pretty much all of Circe's story at different points revolves around a man. Just the different person changes. That was one of the reasons why I liked Penelope's and I'm not gonna mix up their names. Telemachus, I think. I loved their section so much because she actually got a girlfriend. It was so nice.
Yeah, who wasn't a nymph, who was like, no,
super toxic and like either bullying her or like using her for something.
Well, maybe we like transition to talk about Circe and her actual growth, because in the beginning, she's really a part of that patriarchal culture, and like talks about she's literally sitting at the feet of her dad, and she just wants him to acknowledge her, basically, which is so sad. And she, just like wants love, but she's not like, flaunting her beauty the way that the other nymphs are, and she's not really engaging in this structure. And then she gets to go out, and we see her throughout the book. I was just thinking about it because I stayed up late finishing it last night, and from the first page where she's just so innocent, and I mean she's a baby when she's born, and then to the end she's so powerful, and she's like choosing her place in the world, and she isn't afraid, and she's not looking for her dad's approval or for anyone's approval. And I just think it's so well done, because it happens like so slowly over the course of the novel. But then the Circe on the last page of the book is not the Circe on the first page of the book.
Yeah. I think every like person that she meets throughout the story gives her something she needs at the time that she needs it. And then she's able to look back later and be like, oh, that was actually maybe not so great. Like she does this with Hermes. Especially where she loves the gossip that he brings her, right? And likes to like antagonize him because he like kind of like enjoys that dynamic. But she's still like, she realizes later that she's playing a part for him, like a choice between this like simpering nymph and like a stone-hearted woman, and like maybe there's another choice somewhere between those two things. And this guy's actually kind of a jerk, especially when he gets involved with her son. Or like even the like looking at Odysseus through a different lens later. Like I love the descriptions of him as we're first meeting him, and the way that he like brings her past like out of her and lets her sort of deal with some of that stuff in a way that she hasn't before. But then later when she's telling those stories, like his stories to her son, and she realizes, oh, those are actually like pretty violent and not so great. And then she gets to talk about how Odysseus changes with his son Telemachus. I just think that evolution is really, really cool. And it was what she needed at the time that she needed it. But also she like continues to grow beyond these mortal lifetimes, and like all of that stuff does actually add up, despite her having lived this very long childhood where she was just kind of the same and making nothing and doing nothing.
Just kind of being bullied and wrapped up in all the gossip and stuff. And then I think it is a good point, because thinking about like the patriarchal system, you can see her start to, I mean, obviously she rebels against it when she starts turning men into pigs.
Yes. Love that for her.
But then even with Odysseus, because she does, I mean, the way we see Odysseus in the book, it's very easy to like him and to want her to be with him and for her to have that companionship. But then once she becomes a mother and then she like sees more of the world, she's like, wait a second. Like you were saying, like, I think maybe he wasn't that great. And then his story, I wanted to look it up. I don't know in actual Greek mythology, if this is true to what happened to him in Greek mythology.
I'm not sure.
But the way that he's portrayed in this book, he essentially goes crazy because he can't stand just being at his home of, it's not Crete. What's the name?
Ithaca.
Ithaca. Yeah, Ithaca. Yeah. He like is built for war basically. So they like have him like searching for it. And he just goes mad and then dies when Telegonus, his Circe's son, comes. And I feel like his story is so sad. And I think that that's at the end of the book as well. I think it's Telemachus. I don't know how to pronounce all of these names. But anyway.
Yes, sorry to everyone for if you actually know how to pronounce these.
But so because he's the one that Odysseus kept trying to go home to. And then he's basically like, I didn't have a dad. And like he lived a very, I think he said a bad life. And she's like, oh, you think his life was bad? He's like, no, I think that he made everything around him bad, basically. And which is like a very interesting twist on Odysseus, which is probably besides like Achilles and Hercules, is one of the most well-known heroes, you know?
Yeah.
And then having her like present his life as like, actually, he just kind of like added a lot of badness to the world. That was really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. It makes sense though that like he spent like a decade in war and then how many years after that trying to get home.
10. Yeah.
Like nobody could come back from something like that unchanged. And I think especially if you have like that sort of mind where like he is kind of manipulative and he does use it like quote unquote for the force of good. But when there's nowhere to direct that, like what happens? And also I feel like on the side of Penelope and Telemachus, like they survived for all this time without him. They didn't really need him to come back. Like they wanted him to.
Yeah.
And so like facing that is kind of a bummer for Odysseus too. So I definitely don't love the way he ended up. I don't think you have to. Like you can definitely sympathize though with what happened to him.
It's interesting because I just remember because I saw your note that Athena is kind of the reason that he went mad, because they said that, well, she was always like, I haven't read the Iliad in forever, but I think she was a part of him in the actual Trojan War and then on his
she was his patron.
Yeah. And so then she keeps coming to him. I think Penelope or her son, one of them said that anytime he'd get comfortable and like calm down, they'd see like gold around him and he's on the beach and it's like Athena coming and being like, hey, you should go do this thing, you know? And
my champion can't just be sitting around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The gods are just like, it makes me very glad I don't live in ancient Greece where the gods are just like ruining your life. Like they're like, oh, you're comfortable. And they say that multiple times in the book. Like happy people don't worship, basically. Like they don't, they're not going and like sacrificing. Like they want you to be uncomfortable because then you're going to be, reaching out to them more. And they're just so twisted.
Yeah. Well, and they like make it a point to like take away good things as well so that you then become miserable and worship them more, which is really messed up.
Yeah, it's like, why do people, I guess because they created the world and they're in power, but I'm like, why does anyone worship them when they're so bad, you know?
Fear is a powerful motivator.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Well, and the gods
especially
are so
when
afraid.
when you've got like all these monsters and stuff moving through the world too. Like I think you feel like you don't have another choice but to like go to these things that are more powerful than the scary stuff coming after you.
Yeah, and I guess that they do help people. Like it's like sometimes they'll save you. So
yeah,
it's like the ultimate like abusive relationship.
Yeah, actually, that's exactly what it is.
Should we talk about Hermes? Speaking of toxic gods.
Yeah, I think I highlighted one of the like very first lines of his because I was like, ooh, that's such a great description. I had forgotten how much of an asshole he actually was, and I'm not going to be able to find it. Oh, no, it was when sculptors shape their stone, they shape it after him. I'm pretty sure that was about Hermes.
I think it was too. Yeah.
And he's so like mischievous and like all the things that I think would be very tempting to someone like Circe.
Mm-hmm.
But I think she learns pretty quickly that he's just as dangerous as all the rest of them, even though he is like one of the few that actually attempts to interact with her. Not even as like, they're definitely not equals, but he at least like sees her. I feel like a lot of the rest of them are just kind of like, that weird nymph lady who lives on the island. she's whatever.
Yeah. Well, she implies at some point that he also comes and is seducing all of the nymphs on her island too. Like he's definitely, I like him and I hate him. You know what I mean? Like he is that kind of like trickster character where you don't know what he's going to do. And you're like,
yeah,
well, it's fun to watch. And he's like kind of funny and he likes the banter with her. So I feel like it's like fun to read and see their interactions, but he's just so like such a god. And, you know, Odysseus, who is his son or somehow of his lineage.
I forget.
Yeah, I don't remember the details, but somehow they're related because there's the prophecy saying that he would come there. And then he is helping Telegonus, her son, with Odysseus because of that. So he like at least has a little bit of like paternal, I don't know if I'd say love, but curiosity maybe.
Even that though, like I think he's helping to build the boat so that he'll leave Circe alone. Like it's still like really messed up, twisted motivation. It's definitely not out of the goodness of his heart.
Oh, I completely missed that part. Like that he's like, no, you need to not have your son here.
Well, he's like filling Telegonus's head with like stories of the wider world and Ithaca and basically like, look at all that's out there and what's here for you, nothing.
He's so, and he's just like, hologods are just, they're just crazy. I feel like of the characters, Daedalus, I don't know how to say it.
I think it's Daedalus.
Yeah,
he's like the most normal.
Everybody. Well, and I loved like the parts with him, and he, I mean, he was mortal. He's not a hero. I don't think he's considered a hero. He's just like an artist, which I mean, I guess I love artists, so maybe that's why. Yeah. But he was the one who I think like showed her. Well, I'm trying to remember because they met pretty early in the book, and I think it was like one of her first interactions with someone who had guilt over doing something, which because she had been experiencing that with turning Scylla. Okay, wow, I was wrong. Into a monster, and then Daedalus, you know, he feels that with the Minotaur, and he's like trapped by her sister. And I loved their little interaction, which was only over the course of like 4 days or something. It was pretty short, but he left a huge impression on her. And I feel like of all of the characters in the book, in my opinion, he was the most like morally upright and relatable. I don't know if you felt that way.
So between him and Telemachus, I think, so Telemachus to me is like very neurodivergent coded. I don't know if anybody else has felt that. But I think I liked his simplicity after all of these like manipulative, super complex people that Circe's interacted with, and his like straightforwardness. And he's like, they come to care for each other very quickly, but it's just sort of a like, you want something, and so I'm going to make it happen for you. And I thought that was really cool. But I did love Daedalus's section. She also gets to see like him and Icarus, which is cool. And then like the loom that he gives her is a very significant like set piece throughout the rest of the story. And it kind of reminds her of that time they spent together, even though it was so brief. And you're right, it absolutely did have a huge impact on her. Made her start questioning everything.
Yeah. Well, and I loved it because he was like, I'm going to solve anything, like any issue that I have, I'm going to fix it. Even though he was trapped, he like felt such responsibility for the Minotaur. And then, I mean, the story of Icarus is, you know, he builds these wings so his son can leave and they can go escape to freedom. And then Icarus flies too close to the sun, you know, which even reading the book, I'm like, I know that happens.
I know, but you just don't want it to.
Yeah. I was like, maybe she can rewrite it. And the same with like Ariadne. I was like, I want her because she's like the little girl dancing. I was like, I want her to. But no, the gods like get involved again. And I just hate them. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite? Is Daedalus your favorite character, do you think, outside of Circe?
Probably. I did like Odysseus, but yeah, I think Daedalus because I just really liked him. I really liked him and his story. I don't know if I think that she incorporated that. I don't think that was part of Circe's actual mythology that she meets him.
It's a cool inclusion. I honestly have not read the actual Odyssey. I somehow missed that in school.
It's funny. We had to read it. My husband didn't have to read it. So he knows nothing. He doesn't even know who Odysseus is. Oh, and I'm like, you have to learn some Greek mythology. We were going to see the Odyssey this summer. But yeah, somehow people miss that in school. And I don't know how they choose that. But okay, maybe we talk about some of the themes because I feel like there's a lot. One that I did not write down, but I want to hear your thoughts on is I always feel weird about immortals having relationships and falling in love with mortals because that like sometimes it can feel like in some books, especially like vampire books and like some other books, it can feel kind of like very unhealthy. Like you're like this like wise ancient being who's been alive for 1,000 years and then you like, you know, date a 21-year-old or something. And I like don't like that. But in this book, I feel like the way that she showed Circe, like when she met Daedalus, even like Odysseus, even in the end, like because she was so naive for her first like 1,000 years, like she still felt like she was a child. Like she didn't feel like she was this like wise immortal. So I like the mortal relationships to me didn't have that kind of, you know, unhealthy quality that I sometimes see in fantasy. I don't know your opinions on that, but I was, curious to see.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I do think it's because she started so naive and she continued to be sheltered and isolated. And it like, it took her a long time, like hundreds of years to collect the wisdom that you might expect from like another sort of one of these immortal beings just like starting out. And I also think the fact that she is so unlike all of the other gods helped with that as well. Like she does have moments where she like uses her power and is scary, but she's really looking for connection. She's so lonely for almost the entirety of this story, and her loneliness like evolves as she meets and loses people. But yeah, I honestly that like, because I have definitely been bothered by that where it's like the 300-year-old shadow daddy falls in love with the 19-year-old teenager. But yeah, I never felt that in this book.
Yeah, I don't know if it's because it's a woman. Like, would I have felt differently if Circe was a guy and then it's like all these women coming to his island? I don't know. But yeah, I don't know if that's what made it feel more safe, or I think it's definitely, like you said, her like growth and learning how to be wise. But because in a lot of the other books, it's this man who like knows everything and then this like naive girl who doesn't know anything. And in this, it's flipped where the immortal is the naive one. And it's these mortal human men coming and they're like, I've seen so much death and I've like been to war and I have so much guilt and like trauma. And then she's kind of learning about all of that. Which is really, it's just it's so well done. Everything in this book is so well done.
Yeah.
So
yeah. She also, as hard as it is to read like that section where the like men come to her island and do the things that men do in patriarchal systems where a woman lives alone, I'm kind of glad, like it feels important to have included that in the story so that she learns how to defend herself and also how to like differentiate between like people's motivations and what they want from her. I think that's kind of the beginning of her stepping into her power, which I hate that phrase, but like literally as a witch. And like kind of figuring out what her place is in the world and realizing that her place in the world is not super great.
She did have some of that almost like divine arrogance, even at that point of like, oh, I'm a goddess, like
they wouldn't dare.
They need to address me like my father's like Helios. And she concocted this whole like story in her mind where she was like, I'm going to say my dad's a cow herder and like they won't get the joke, and like kind of like toying with the humans the way that, you know, Hermes does and all these other gods do. And then she has to learn like kind of like, well, you're just a nymph, which is really sad to say. But also, I think it does, because her arc is going from being immortal to becoming immortal. And so that's like such a key point, is showing like, well, when you're a mortal human, you can't just snap your fingers. And,
right. These are the dangers you face.
Yeah. And so I love the way that it was showing that. And I mean, as a woman, I also really like the escapism and that like moment of like, I mean, I hate like reading it. Like the description, I think, was also well done. Like, you know what's happening, but it's not like gratuitous. Like it was an almost eloquent portrayal. But then like as the woman, like for me, then in the end, like the one guy's like, well, now it's my turn. And it's just like, oh, like I hate that. And then she's like, no, you're a pig. And like turns him into a pig. I'm like, yes. Like, and then I don't care. Like part of me is like, honestly, I love that she like for like the 1,000 ships or however many came, and she's like, I can count on my fingers like how many of them were good, uprighteous men that I didn't do anything to. Like I just let them go. And it's like, that's so messed up. And like there's like a little bit of like escapism and like living through that and just being like, yeah, I'm glad that she did that. And
there's also there's something really horribly satisfying. Like she makes a point in talking about like how she transforms creatures that they maintain their like mental, like the like whatever she transforms, I can't remember, but like it always tries to fly even though it doesn't have wings anymore, or like all these things. It's like, you know, that the pigs are still men and the men are pigs. It's a very fitting metaphor.
Yeah. And then Odysseus is like, so where's my crew? Like, where are they? And she's just like, I don't know. But yeah, I really like that. Oh, just to talk about the trauma, like I feel like because this was my reread. I know you said is this your second time rereading it or?
First time rereading it. The first time I read it was actually during the pandemic. Which I think was like actually the perfect time to read a book about loneliness and what it means to like enjoy life and be alive. But yes.
Oh yeah, that is really beautiful to read at that point in time.
Yeah, I wept through so many parts of this book. Like
I did too. Yeah, the first time I read it, I actually had because I own it, so I was reading my copy, and then I had a plane ticket in it from 2019. So I was like, oh, I guess I read it in 2019. But yeah, so this was my first time rereading it, and definitely held up to my expectation, which was like, this is one of my favorite books. If anything, I like it more. But I had forgotten how much of it was about like the family trauma and almost the generational trauma, because we see her making decisions the same way that her mother would or her father would, which is like this like whole God revenge thing. So she does that with Scylla, I forgot how you pronounce it already. The nymph who she turns into a monster. And then she still kind of like her like inner godliness comes out a lot. And I think that that's like a perfect metaphor for this generational trauma, or just like trauma that we all deal with, where we're like growing and we're evolving, but then sometimes like something happens and you kind of dip back into that. And yeah, just like seeing her trying to not be awful like the other gods, but then sometimes she still does it, you know?
Yeah.
And
I mean, even the way that she raises her son it's a trauma response. Keeping him like on the island, trying to protect him from everything, especially Athena. And it's also so like, I'm not a mother, but I remember being a teenager and being like, why won't you let me go do things? This is so lame. And she like in her head, she's like, you have no idea the things I'm trying to protect you from. And I'm like, I wonder if this is how my mother felt.
You're like, it's just a boat. And then your mom's like, yeah, but Athena, you know?
Yeah. And sea monsters. Literally everyone's trying to kill you. And she's, even though she has tried so hard to step away from it, she's still part of the chain of fear.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. She's definitely really immersed in that. And she has so much fear. And it's interesting because her son doesn't. He doesn't really have any of that. So he's breaking it, maybe because he's mortal and he's able to step away from that. But he's just so, curious and wants to live life, which is kind of beautiful for her because she wanted to like understand mortals and becomes immortal. And then her son is immortal and he gets to go and like live, this grand life that most people would sell their soul to take, and it's kind of just handed to him. I just love it. Everything in this book. I don't want to say it's like in a nice, perfect little bow because it is so intense and brutal. But it all comes together. And
it's excellently crafted. Yeah, for sure. And her son kind of reflects a little bit of her, like the way she grows up too. Like he starts off very naive and sheltered and just wants to go out into the world. And when he does, he accidentally kills his dad, and like he has to deal with all the consequences of that. And then he does get to go off and live this like God-blessed life, but it's only because of like someone else's decision. Like it's only because I keep mixing their names up in my head. Why do they have to be so similar? Yeah.
Telemachus, Penelope's son, and Circe.
It's only because he refuses that Telegonus gets to be the king of wherever. I've forgotten which kingdom now.
I don't think they ever say. They just say they have a place in Italy.
Okay. Yeah.
I think. Unless I completely skipped over it. But yeah, you're right. He does have to go through a similar arc. He just does it a lot faster, probably because he's mortal.
Yeah, for sure.
He doesn't have 1,000 years to do it.
Yeah. Honestly, Circe also kind of gives me neurodivergent vibes, just of the fact of like her emotional processing is so delayed. I'm like, girl, I see you.
I feel like then all gods, because
I think a lot of the gods just don't have emotions, at least in this version of things. They're very like, Circe talks a lot about like, they have like anger and self-righteousness, but no guilt or shame. They don't feel sadness or loss because they are eternal. Like, which is really sad for them.
I feel like at the end of the book, I just felt sad for the gods because it made me appreciate life and what it means to be mortal, and thinking about being immortal and kind of nothing mattering. And the only way to feel something is to destroy something. Like, that's so sad. It's just so, it's really sad.
I'm curious if any or a lot of Circe's experience with motherhood reflected your experience so far.
It's interesting because the first time I read this, I had no children, had no plans of becoming a mom. I guess maybe, but it was like in the distant future. And now reading it the second time, I have a 2-year-old, and I'm like, wow, this is a much different experience now. There was like a line that really stuck with me where she was like, I'm very glad I'm immortal and I don't have to sleep because I don't have enough time for all of this, even not sleeping. And I was like, and she was like, I don't know how mortals do it. And I'm like, I don't know how mortals do it either. We're tired. Like,
Yeah.
But then like he doesn't want to sleep and he keeps looking at the ocean and saying horizon. And like he wants to go there. And it does remind me of my toddler. For one thing, she loves the ocean. But also like seeing the personality and that want to like go see the world. Like my 2-year-old, she always says she wants to be with the people. So I'm like, she's definitely gonna be an extrovert. I mean, if this is true, like he went out on the ocean, like she's gonna like, I don't know, be in crowds all the time. She always wants to be with the people. But so it was, I really like the portrayal. I don't know if Madeline Miller has kids. I'm assuming she does because it was a pretty specific description of it. But the part that got to me the most was when her sister had the Minotaur and they like cut her open and then it like bites her. And then she's like sitting there, even though she's a god and she heals, but she's sitting there and she can't get up because she's cut open and she's like still yelling. And I'm like, man, that would not be, as a mortal, like you would not be yelling at them if you were like awake when they're like doing a C-section. Oh yeah. It was, that was so gruesome.
Brutal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Childbirth is no joke, even without all those crazy circumstances. And
yeah. Yes. I really like the portrayal of her relationship with Telegonus, her son. I mean, you said at the beginning of this that she has every relationship is essentially with a man, and then she has a son. So of course she doesn't have a daughter. She has a son because I feel like she's having to like learn a lot from men. But her protective instincts were interesting to see, especially compared to her parents who kind of didn't care. I mean, her dad essentially melted her and then stepped over her, it did nothing. And so seeing her be able to care for him and nurture him was kind of healing in a way for her journey, to see her go from having no one caring for her and then her being able to give him what she didn't have. I thought was really beautiful.
Yeah, I agree. And also about her dad, the like moment at the end where she like petitions him, I think was it to cancel her exile or and he's like, LOL, why would I do that? And she goes, okay, well, you did exactly what I expected you would do. Bye. That was also very satisfying.
Well, because he said something like, don't go and shame me in the world or something. And she's like, how about instead you don't say I'm your child, like forget me when you listen to your children and I'm just going to go do it. And he's like ultimately offended. Like, and it's because he's like, how would you don't want to be associated with me? I'm like the son.
Right.
And she's like, no, I have my own power now. And it's just so different from the Circe at the beginning of the book. And I love that moment. Yeah. It was like just so good.
Yeah.
Also, visualizing the sun coming onto a beach is very intense.
Yeah. The descriptions of Helios and his palace were so cool, like the complete like obsidian walls, and it's like when he's not there, it's really dark and depressing, but like he cannot envision a world without him in it. And like that whole thing was really cool. And ultimately, like her realization about him is that he is selfish and like has no room to think about anyone else, including and especially her.
Yeah, I feel like the big theme in this is agency and her finding her, I don't want to say her own voice, but also kind of her own voice because she was ashamed of her voice. And then in the end, she doesn't care because she's mortal. But yeah, her just like making choices for herself and in a way that is also thinking about the consequences because she's kind of petty in the beginning when she uses her power.
Yeah.
I don't want to say for evil, but for very selfish reasons. And then by the end, she's using her power to protect her son, to repair all of the damage that she's done. And we get to see her, I don't even know if agency would be the right word, but just like her owning her
I
power.
think so. Totally. One of my favorite moments was when she goes to the sea god to get his tail so that she can protect her son. And I think that was one of the coolest things of like, all she had to do was try to reach out and take it.
Mm-hmm.
And no one else had ever done that before because they were so afraid. And she overcame her fear in that moment because like she would do anything to protect her son. I thought that was really beautiful. And the descriptions of, I think he's like a giant, like a manta ray or something. Yeah. Which is just so cool. And also like deep ocean stuff. I'm terrified of, and she did such a good job of making that like dark and cold and visceral. Mm-hmm. That was one of my favorite sections.
Yeah, because she talks about feeling the weight of the ocean on her, mm-hmm. and yeah, I love that part too. Yeah, because I didn't remember. I remembered her going into the ocean from the first time I read it, but I didn't remember exactly what happened. I was like, I feel like she talks to her grandpa. I don't remember. And then when she's reaching out to touch it, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't remember her doing this.
Yeah.
And then it's not there. And I had a moment where I literally sat with the book and I was like, would I have touched it? Like, what would I have done? You know, like an eternity. It's not just a lifetime, an eternity of pain is what she was risking. And not being able to die. It's so hard, like being immortal. I can't even envision like that, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I know someday I will die. So it would end, but like having it never, anyway, it just really like messed with my brain.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about some favorites. So as I said, Daedalus, I think is Daedalus. I still don't know how to pronounce it, but he is probably my favorite character. And he had such a short section. I wish Madeline Miller would write like an entire book just about him because I love how she portrayed him in this. And yeah, he was so good. Yeah.
Yeah. This line that you put about there are rare moments when another soul dips near yours as stars once a year brush the earth. I had that highlighted too. That's such a constellation he was to me. It's so beautiful.
It's so good. I was actually searching something else related to the book earlier, and then there were like multiple Reddit threads that came up with this specific line where people were like, I keep going back to this page. I keep thinking about this line. It's so good. And I love the metaphor of like stars and constellations, that she's a god and like everything. There are so many lines in this book that are just so perfect. Honestly, I feel like every line is my favorite line.
Yeah. She puts words together in ways that I have never seen anyone else put words together, which is the mark of like a true master of your craft, I think. Mm-hmm. And especially like I see this a lot in horror where like every metaphor is crafted to fit like the mood and the world. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So like comparing like Daedalus to a constellation, she has another one where like mortals must be meteors to catch the attention of gods because their lives are so quick. Mm-hmm. And like the normal, everybody else are just dust because by the time we learn their names, they are dead is what she says, which is so good.
So good. Well, and the opening line is good. What was it? I already forgot now. But when I was born, they didn't have a name for me or what I was. I'm paraphrasing. I'm not reading it. But that is so, it just like sets the tone for the whole book. I mean, this book is one of my favorites. So would you say your favorite scene is the one with Trigon where she got the tail?
It's definitely like top three. I do also love like the end where she's imagining this life with Telemachus. And I think the first time I read it, it was so vivid that I actually thought that she had done it.
Yeah.
Like I think I missed the part that this was only what she was hoping for. And I think at the end she's like, she hasn't even cast the spell yet. She's just like believing that this will be true, which I think it's so powerful and I think so true of how hope like actually works. Like a lot of the times we don't get to know like what the payoff is or when we will get it. But we still have to hold on to it anyway.
Yeah.
And I think that was just so beautiful.
Yeah, I like that part too. Because it wasn't even her having a prophecy, which she could like see. She could have cast a spell, like done something to be like, should I do this? Or am I going to regret that? And instead she was being very human and like hoping for the future and, you know, envisioning it. And that is a beautiful scene. Yeah. I don't know what my favorite one would be. I think, honestly, probably the first time she turns the men to pigs. I liked that moment of power for her, or the like one with Prometheus, because I did really like that scene. Or when we first see Odysseus, because it was like, I mean, you're reading a book of Circe, you're kind of waiting for Odysseus to arrive, and then he does, and he's like lives up to like the hype essentially. And I like their like how he's like testing her and she's testing him, because he's so used to gods and he's not intimidated by her at all. He knows how to interact with her. And I like that portrayal of a human who is just unfazed by this like powerful witch who can turn him into a pig. And he's like, I think you probably did something. But he's still there, you know? And I liked that start of their relationship too.
Yeah. Then there's so many good lines and descriptions of him. Like, I'm going to paraphrase badly, but the way that he speaks, and everybody is so drawn to him. And there's like something about, he has this way of like serving you a sentence as if it's an empty plate and seeing what you'll put onto it.
I loved that. I was like, man,
so cool.
That is such a good line. And also perfect, because she's like, that's what she's doing for all of these guests who are coming. She's serving them, and she's like, and then he's kind of taking that. I don't know. It was such a perfect description. Yeah.
And he's also like, he's so moody in the beginning, and she describes him like an ocean. Like it may be like choppy some days in different colors and all of this, but at the end it's still this like vast, deep thing that you like. I don't know. I forget exactly what she says about it, but there were so many good lines in that section.
Yeah, it's so good. See, that's what I'm saying. It's like everything is my favorite.
Yeah. I think there's they're kind of sad, but I do really like her descriptions about like her being alone and like naming her loneliness, and the points where it like hits harder after she has had someone and they leave, and she sort of realizes that like it's been hundreds of years and the island has changed. Or like I think it's after Medea and Jason come, and Medea basically is like, you're just a lonely witch and you're never going to amount to anything. And so it's like, oh man, she's right. But I like ended up bookmarking those whole pages, I think, just because those like, they really hit like in the center of your chest.
Yeah. I like that you have, one of the quotes, I thought once that gods are the opposite of death, but I see now they are more dead than anything, for they are unchanging and can hold nothing in their hands. Like that's so, I love that. Now they are more dead than anything, because none of the gods would say that about themselves. But when you think about it, you can't experience like anything of being alive because they don't value it. And or at least alive through our perspective. Yeah, that line was just so, yeah.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that line a lot in regard to like the next thing that we're going to be recording, which is the books with gods. Yeah, because there's so many different ways that this perspective can be like, so many facets of how gods can operate in the world. But yeah, I think her, like Circe coming to that realization is just the perfect little capstone of her arc, and her realizing that this is not what she wants to be, and that there must be a way to to truly live and create. And it's just so, this is like such a perfect book.
I know. It's so good. And honestly, I was scared going in to read it because I loved it so much the first time. And I started this, so I've been reading so much fantasy, and then I have been writing. And so I'm like, I find myself editing a lot when I'm reading. And this book, I was not at all. I was like, oh, it's good because I'm not, my editing brain isn't even here. Like I'm just like in the book. And it really, it exceeded my expectations on the like second read, which is crazy. I feel like that doesn't normally happen. Like sometimes you're like, oh, it's not as good this time around. But the second time it was like, man, this is even better than I remembered. That's crazy. How did she do that?
I had honestly forgotten so many of the actual plot details. I just remembered like finishing this book and just feeling like warm and like full of light. And that like, I think I've said this before, that like I remember a book by its vibes and not by what actually happens. So it was a real treat to go back again and like remember why I felt that way. Hopefully this time, especially now that I've like taken notes on it, I'll be able to hold on to some of those details some more.
I know, but I feel like the best books are always the one where I'm like, I don't remember what happens. Even if I've read it multiple times, I'm like, it's about a witch and you should read it. Okay, well, speaking of the future, so you kind of already mentioned this, but for everyone listening, AJ's coming back along with another special guest who is your friend who's an author.
Yes, Rebecca Broadkey, who also writes epic fantasy with giant pantheons of meddling gods and titans. Very, very cool.
Yeah, so we are going to do a whole theme episode talking about different books with like gods and goddesses and kind of why we love those and why it's really important for fantasy and for readers and all of the things. So I'm super excited about that because this is probably one of my favorite categories of books is like anything with gods in it. So that will be coming out after this episode. And so I wanted to mention, I don't know if you saw this, but I was like looking it up, and apparently Madeline Miller had said that she's working on a Persephone novel, which I just discovered. And I like freaked out for a minute because Persephone is so just like so cool because she's the one who becomes Hades' wife.
Yeah.
And has to like spend half the time in the underworld, which is winter, and then half the time above ground. And she's, I think, the goddess of spring, but then also death too. So it's I think that will be amazing. But I was looking to try to see, because I just saw someone said this was happening. And then she had posted in 2021 that she was trying to write The Tempest, but instead she ended up writing Persephone. But there's like kind of no updates on when it's coming out. But I know for the Song of Achilles, I think it took her 10 years to write. And I think Circe maybe was the same.
Yeah. So I also think she has long COVID, which is probably affecting her output, which is understandable.
Yeah. Because I know she's had a few short stories, I think, come out, but Circe was
a novella or something.
Yeah. So,
have you read Song of Achilles?
I did. I read it after Circe. So Circe's probably my favorite. Which
I've heard people say whichever one you read first ends up being your favorite. I do like Circe, but I think it's mostly because Song of Achilles is sad.
It's been a while since I read it, so I don't remember the details, but I mean, I remember what happens to Achilles. So yeah.
Still a beautiful book, but very different mood.
Very different.
A Persephone novel would be so cool.
Yeah, I'm hoping. So maybe we'll get it in like 2030 or 2035.
Fingers crossed.
Who knows? But
in the meantime,
I bet it would be so good.
Yeah. In the meantime, everybody should play the Hades video games. If you want more Greek god stuff, they're so cool.
Ooh, is Persephone in it? I'm assuming.
Yes. So the main character of the first game is Hades' son, who I don't think actually exists in Greek mythology. And he's trying to escape the underworld and finds out about his mother, Persephone. And it's just a really talk about like toxic family, but there's like actually some very lovely healing that happens. It takes a while to get there. But it's such a fun game. The art is amazing. The soundtrack is awesome, and the story is beautiful. So if you're on the hunt for some more Greek god stuff, definitely check it out.
Oh yeah, that sounds cool. Yeah. Well, and then the Odyssey is a movie that's coming out this summer.
Yes.
And I believe Athena is supposed to be in it when the people's playing Athena. I think if I saw it, I think I read something about that. So
I've actually heard nothing about. I live under a rock with stuff like this. Oh my God, Zendaya's playing Athena.
Oh,
Perfect.
Yeah, that's who it was. Yeah. And I think Tom Holland's in it and Matt Damon, I think, is playing Odysseus. Yeah. So it's a lot of big names, which I'm like, oh no.
And Anne Hathaway's Penelope. Yeah, this could either be phenomenal or a train wreck.
Yeah. I'm optimistic. I'm hopeful that it's going to be like one of my favorite movies. But we'll see. I feel like anytime you have a bunch of big name actors, like it is disappointing. So we'll see how it goes. But
I'm going to have to actually read the Odyssey. Probably.
I have it. My plan was to read it. And I'm like, am I going to read this whole thing? Or there's a podcast where they like summarize it. Like, do I just listen to the summary?
I mean, it's long. Epic poem.
But yeah, so that's some more like Greek mythology stuff that's coming up. Do you have any final thoughts or anything you want to say at the end here?
If you somehow made it to the end of this and haven't actually read the book yet, please do read it so that you can experience all these wonderful and heartbreaking things yourself instead of just hearing us talk about them. It's so good.
It's so good. And I heard that the audiobook is really good too. I didn't listen to it, but I've heard that it's good for anyone who likes audiobooks. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining. This was so fun. And the first time I read this book, no one I knew had read it. So it's fun to read it this time and get to actually talk to someone about it.
Yeah. I feel like it's like one of the like most widespread like Greek myth retellings at this point.
Mm-hmm. I think it's like really the pinnacle. I feel like everyone's like comparing to Circe, and it's just so good. I love this book. But yeah, thank you for joining, and thank you everyone for listening. If you like this episode, as I said, we're going to be doing a Greek gods episode next. So make sure you subscribe and follow so you get notified when that comes out. And let us know what you thought of the book. Thank you, everyone. That's all for today. If you enjoyed the episode, follow More Magic on your favorite podcast platform to be notified of future episodes. And if you have the time, please rate and review to help us spread more magic to other fantasy readers. As always, if there's a book you want us to discuss, you can let us know at moremagicpodcast.com. In the meantime, we hope your current read becomes your next favorite, and we're sending you more magic.